Hello students, today we are going to do lesson 4.5, graphing standard form. So I want you to take your notebook out and label the next page 4.5, graphing standard form. At any point during this video, feel free to stop it if you need to catch up or replay it if you miss something. So take your time and make sure you pay attention. So we're going to do this together. It says to work with a partner, but we're going to do it together. You sold a total of $16 worth of tickets to a school concert. You lost track of how many of each type of ticket you sold. So we need to look up here because we're going to need this information. It says let X represent the number of adult tickets. So we're going to use X here. Let Y represent the number of student tickets. So we're going to use a Y there. Write an equation that relates X and Y. So let's start with the adult tickets. If we look back up on our ticket, adult tickets were $4. So we're going to put $4 times the number of adult tickets. So we're going to call that 4X. We have to add that to our student tickets. So we'll use blue for our student tickets. So student tickets, if we look up here, were $2. So $2 times the number, so we're going to call it 2Y. And up in the top, it tells us you sold a total of 16. So that's going to equal $16. So there's our equation. So then we're going to complete the table down here of different combinations of tickets that you could have sold. So let's say you sold 0 adult tickets. If I did 4 times 0, that would give me 0 plus 2y equals 16. Well, we can ignore that. Divide by 2, so we know we would get 8 student tickets. So that's what we're going to do each time. So let me erase this, and let's go back and do for 1 adult, 2 adults, 3 adults, 4 adults. We'll go on if we have to. So 4 times 1 plus 2y equals 16. This is 4. So we're just solving equations. So we're taking away our 4. We get 2y equals, I believe that's 12. Divide by 2, which would give us 6. Now we're going to do it again. We're going to do 4 times 2. Which would give us 8. Subtract 8 from each side. We get 2y equals 8. Divide by 2, I believe that would give us 4. Now, I'm not going to keep doing it because we see kind of a pattern going on. 8, 6, 4, this would be 2, this would be 0. So if we sold 4 adult tickets, 4 times 4 is 16, we wouldn't be able to sell any student tickets. So, to graph it. So if we sold X being our adult tickets, so adults is down here, and child tickets or student tickets are over here. So if we sold 0 adult tickets, we would have sold 8 student tickets. 1 adult was 6, 2 would be 4, 3 would be 2, and 4 would be 0. So then, of course, you guys would draw a line with a ruler going all the way through. There's our graph. If you remember, then letter D, if you remember how many adult tickets you sold, can you determine the number of student tickets? Yes, you could. You could plug it into the equation and figure it out. So this is the same thing. This time we're talking about cheese. And again, if you look, the numbers are the same, $4 and $2. So we're going to come up with basically the same equation, 4x plus 2y equals 16. It's the same equation because Swiss cheese is 4 pounds, and we're going to use X for Swiss cheese. Cheddar was $2 per pound. We're going to use Y. So it comes out to be the same equation. Rewrite the equation in slope-intercept form. So we've got 4x plus 2y equals 16. and we are going to rewrite it in slope-intercept form. So remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. We should be getting really good at it. So I want to get y by itself. So I'm going to get rid of my 4x first. So I got 2y equals. Now, I'm going to put my negative 4x in front because that goes with my mx. And then it's a positive 16. So technically, I have y equals mx plus b. We're not totally done, but at least it's started in the right form. I still need to get y by itself, so I'm going to divide by 2. So now I have y equals, which is what we want, but now we've got to simplify. Well, you don't have to, but it's going to make it a lot easier if we do. So what is a negative 4 divided by 2? That gives us a negative 2x. And then we're going to go the other way. What's 16 divided by 2? That's going to be a positive 8. And here is our equation. And now we can graph it. Y-intercept is 8, so we put our there. And then negative 2, so we got negative 2 over 1. We're going to go down 2 and to the right 1. So starting here, we're going to go down 2 to the right 1. Down 2 to the right 1. And we're going to keep going until we get there. And that, if I draw my line, is going to look just like the equation we already drew. So technically, we've learned how to graph this in 2 ways. One using intercepts and one using slope-intercept form again. I'm going to skip this page. I'm not going to worry about it. I want you to write this in your notes, please. Pause the video and write down standard form of a linear equation in your notes. So what we're talking about is just the form of the equation, and this is the standard form, ax plus by equals c. When we did this, we had 4x plus 2y equals 16. Here's what we have, by equals c. So this is the kind of form we're going to be working with today, standard form. So we have to know how to graph them, and we're going to do it in 2 different ways, one in slope-intercept form and one with intercepts. So we're going to start with slope-intercept form. And like we had just done, you guys technically already know how to do it. So write down the equation, negative 2x plus 3y equals negative 6. Now, we want to get it in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So I want to solve for my y. So this is a negative 2x. I'm going to add 2x to both sides. I just underlined. Don't think that I did division there. So I'm going to add 2x to both sides. So this is going to cancel out, leaving me with 3y by itself. And again, I'm going to put this first, and I don't need the plus sign, just because of mx plus b. But then I need to get y by itself, so they're multiplying by 3, so I'm going to divide by 3. So now I've got my y equals. So let's go through and finish it. I'm going to leave my 2 over 3 as a ratio or as a fraction because that's our slope. So instead of doing 2 divided by 3, I'm just going to leave it as a fraction or a ratio. Negative 6 divided by 3 is a negative 2. There is my equation. And now I'll be able to graph it. My y-intercept is negative 2, so I put my first dot there. Then I've got 2 over 3 as my slope. They're both positive, so I'm going to go up 2, and I'm going to go to the right 3. So I'm going to start at here. I'm going to go up 2, to the right 3, up 2, to the right 3, up 2, to the right 3. If I wanted to go the other way, I'd go the opposite. I'm going to go down 2, to the left 3. So down 2, to the left 3. Down 2, to the left 3. And then you can draw 1, 2, 3. I'm making sure I got this right. Then I can draw a straight line through all of my points and I've graphed it. So we did this back in Unit 1. We did the whole solving for y, literal equations. It's going to take some practice, but you will get the practice. But then once you have slope-intercept form, you should be able to graph it. Okay, so on this page, we're going to do the same equation, but we're going to do it with intercepts. Your y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. And if you remember, if it was right here, it would be 0 for x, and then we don't know what it would be for y. So here, x would equal 0. For the x-intercept, it's the exact opposite. Some number here for x and y would be 0. So y equals 0. So we're going to plug those in to our equation. So let's start with y-intercept, and we'll do that in red. Y-intercept, x equals 0. So I'm going to do negative 2 times 0, which gives me 0, which basically means this one cancels out. So then we would be left with 3y equals negative 6. Divide both sides by 3. Y would equal a negative 2. So we go to our y, we go down to negative 2, and there's our point for our y-intercept. Our x-intercept we'll do in blue. We're going to put y in for 0, or 0 in for y. So let's erase this for the moment. So now we're going to do 3 times 0, which gives us 0, which means this one cancels out. Now we're left with negative 2x equals a negative 6. Divide by negative 2, x would equal 3. We go on to our x-axis, and there's that point. And then we would just use our ruler. And again, don't just draw a line between those. You're going to draw a line all the way through the graph. And it should match up with what we graphed on the previous page. So again, you're plugging in for your y-intercept, you're plugging in x equals 0. For your x-intercept, you're plugging y is 0. So whatever one you're plugging in, it's the opposite intercept. Okay. So let's practice a couple more. It says use a graphing calculator. We're not going to. So let's use intercepts first. So if I plug 0 in for y, or for x I mean, y would equal negative 2. So then I would go down to negative 2. Erase that. Whoops, not highlighted. Sorry about that. Erase that. So then y would be 0. So x would equal negative 2. So I would go to negative 2, and there would be my line for the first one. And of course, you guys are going to use a ruler. I don't have one on here, but we're going to do that. If I did it in slope-intercept form, x plus y equals negative 2, I would subtract x from both sides. So y would equal a negative x minus 2. So that's a negative 1. So my y-intercept is negative 2. And I got negative 1 over 1. So I'm going to go down 1 and then to the right 1. So down 1 to the right 1. And look, I'm right on my line. Or I could go up 1 and to the left 1. So up 1, left 1, up 1, left 1. I have the exact same line. Okay, let's go ahead and do second problem. This time, let's decide which one. You don't have to do it both ways. Let's decide which way we want to do it. Now, a couple of things I know you guys don't necessarily like. Number one, we have a fraction. That's slope. So since we have y all by itself, I am going to just change it into slope-intercept form. It's a negative 2/3 x, so I'm going to add 2/3 x to both sides. So once I do that, I already have, and I'm going to put 2/3 x first, plus 0, I'm already in slope-intercept form. Super easy. And I already have slope set up in a ratio. So my y-intercept is 0, which means it's going to go right through the origin, which means this one's going to be proportional. My slope is 2/3, so I'm going to go up 2 and to the right 3. So up 2 to the right 3, up 2 to the right 3, and then, or I could go down 2 to the left 3, down 2 to the left 3, and then you can draw a line through those. So you can decide which way you want to do it. You don't have to do it both ways. It's a good way to double check, but you don't have to do it both ways. So let's do two more. Here I've got them, I'm just going to use intercepts because it's not a bad thing, and it's just going to, I think it's going to be easier. So put 0 in for x, divide both sides by 2, y equals 3, if I'm doing my math correctly. And erase this, put 0 in for y. So now I'm going to do 6 divided by -1/2. So let's see, 6 over 1 times 2 over 1, that gives me 12. So it's going to be -12. So my x is -12, which would take me off the chart. So even if you did like 1, 2, you'd have to go more. So mine would be way over here, and I can't write because I've got different space. But then you would draw your line between those 2 points. Sorry, I was off the graph. I've got stuff on the side. On number 4, because y is already by itself, I'm going to change it to slope-intercept form. I'm going to subtract 2x. Y equals a -2x positive 5. So that one I could do. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my y-intercept. -2 over 1. So I'm going to go down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1. And I would be able to draw my line. Whoa, really bad line. Sorry about that. This way. So you can decide which way you want to do it, either with intercepts or by changing it to slope-intercept form. So this one wants you to use intercepts. So if x is 0, divide by 3, y would be a -1. If this was 0, if y was 0, x would be a -3. So -1 to -3, I could draw my line. That would be the way to do it. And for those of you who want to double check, you most certainly can. So graph the equation. Here's our equation. You can do intercepts. You can do, change it to slope-intercept form. It's totally up to you. This is one. I would probably do intercepts. But more importantly, they want you to interpret the intercepts. What do they mean? So let's say I have my graph. What does it mean when it crosses the y-axis? That means since x is the number of apples and y is the number of bananas, if my y, or my x, I'm sorry, is 0, that means this is how many, it's 0 apples and how many bananas that I bought. On the x-axis, y would be 0, so that means 0 bananas and however many apples. So this is being one of the big things that I wanted to talk about, is how you interpret the intercepts. Basically, the y-intercept is whatever x is, I'm getting 0 x's, so y equals this. The x-intercept is 0 y's, so x is whatever that is. And we'll be practicing this as well. You can graph these two, make sure you know what you're doing, and again, interpret the intercepts, go that way. I'm not as worried about as much. What would you do to graph this one? Would you use intercepts? You could. It would be fairly easy. You could also, since y is by itself, change it to slope-intercept form. Your homework is the 4.5 exercises in Schoology. They're numbers 5 through 18, and again, on paper, due in our next class period. Feel free to message me with any questions. Thank you.